Thank you, Lorian. It's really great to be participating in the Migration Summit for the second year this year, and it's always great to share our experience and to be able to hopefully inspire more people and share with them new stuff about our approaches towards things related to migrants in the region we're working with. Today, we're going to present a new, different approach that we're looking at here in Jordan with our partners. So before I start, I'd like to introduce our partners who are helping us in the implementation in different projects in Jordan, but specifically today, speaking about a very unique model that I hope people will find very interesting. Today, we have with us Nidal Bitar, the CEO of Int J, the ICT Association in Jordan, and he will present a few slides about the model we are presenting. And also we have Dr. Ebrahim Mansour. He is the Associate Professor of Accounting and the Director of the Hashemite University Career Center here in Jordan. I think he's having an issue with the connecting, but the team are helping him getting into the Zoom link. So he's joining us soon, and also he will be presenting the model and how we're collaborating together in implementing our model. So if you allow us, we're going to guide you through a presentation, and then we're going to invite everyone who's joining today, and of course we thank everyone who's joining us today, to perhaps write your questions or ideas on the side, so that whenever we're done, maybe you'd like to either share ideas, practices that you like to share, or maybe questions that we can answer. But we'll start with the presentation. So today we're going to be speaking about a unique model. We call it the B2B solution that highly concentrates on helping youth be connected with jobs, remote jobs in the market, which serves both Jordanians and other refugees, Syrian refugees and other in Jordan. Before I start, I'd like to speak a bit about EFE for those who don't necessarily know. EFE is a nonprofit organization which is part of an affiliate network. We operate in Jordan, Palestine, Tunisia, Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen, with support offices in the US, Madrid, and Dubai. And basically, we concentrate on creating economic opportunities for youth in Jordan by identifying the market needs. So everything we do is demand-driven, that allow us to be relevant to the market. And then we bridge the gap between youth and their skills with the market, with employment, with the training needed as discussed according to the demand in the market. So basically, only in Jordan, we have trained more than 22,000 youth since 2006. And we'd like to speak more about the demography of our trainees. Almost 85% of them finish from a track that we call job training and placement that matches youth with full-time jobs. 70% of the trainees are women. And that's something we're very proud of, especially with the low percentage of women participation in the labor market in Jordan at about 14%. And we started, of course, training refugees in Jordan almost since 2015, of course, after the Syrian crisis. The difficulties and the challenges about training refugees in Jordan is that there are some closed professions Syrians cannot access by law. And there are also areas that Syrians perhaps are not interested in working in. So there are several challenges. We succeeded in matching, to some extent at least, the demand in the market and the interest of Syrian refugees in Jordan to match with these demands in the market. So I'd like to speak a little bit about the core tracks that we provide in Jordan in general before I dig a bit deeper and speak about the model that we are presenting today. But basically, we have 4 main tracks. The first one we call job training and placement. It ends with full-time jobs. And as I mentioned, it's very much demand-driven. The second one is called entrepreneurship or self-employment. It provides opportunities for people to generate income from home. So this fits a lot with the demand of Syrian refugees, also with women, Jordanians and Syrians who for different reasons cannot work outside the house, for women in rural areas, in governorates who don't have access to the job market. This is a very good solution that enables them to generate income. The third one is what we call the online freelancing or the gig economy and what we call the virtual jobs. Of course, this includes and focuses on the ICT sector, also very much open to Jordanians, Syrians who that allow them to learn a skill and also learn to become an online freelancer. So all what they need is a laptop and connectivity, which we provide them with most of the projects that we implement. And then they start generating income from behind their laptops. And the last track is what we call finding a job as a job, which is basically targeting university students and grads from different universities, enabling them to find the jobs themselves in the market. The supplementary tracks are tracks we provide in Jordan depending on also the need and demand and the funding, of course. One of them is employee upskilling or reskilling, which enable us to train existing employees on different other skills that will highly increase their chances to stay within the company, but perhaps in different skills. This was needed, especially after the COVID-19 and what happened, and with people having to change jobs and to change skills. The second one is what we call career counseling and guidance in public schools. We piloted this project with some partners that enabled us to access government schools and help youth and students from grades 8, 9, 10 to learn more about the market, about how to choose their careers, how to think about their opportunities, whether studying in the university or the TVET sector. We're also launching national awareness campaigns about specific messages. So, for example, the one we launched last year and this year was targeting encouraging youth and their parents and the communities to encourage youth access the TVET sector. And the last one is providing technical assistance to the private and the public sector in different forms, helping them in different areas. Now, I would like to zoom in a little bit on the ICT track in particular. We have implemented several projects, one with the French, the AFD, by training 490 youth on the online freelancing track that I mentioned earlier, one with the Ministry of Digital Economy and Entrepreneurship that was funded by the YTJ World Bank project, also training about 250 women and youth and Syrian refugees, also on the online freelancing approach. And the last one is with GIZ that we're currently implementing actually to train about 550 youth, also in the ICT sector on the online freelancing approach in particular. We see the high demand, and you will hear more from my colleague Nidal when he explains the approach about the ICT sector in Jordan. So basically, it's important to understand that the economy in Jordan produces about 23,000 jobs every year, and today we have about 450,000 job seekers. So the match is really difficult. In addition to the challenge that, as I mentioned, the Syrians do not have full access to all of the jobs in Jordan. Some professions are considered closed professions for them. So this enabled us with Int J to create a model that allows people to work from Jordan with Jordanian companies who provide outsourcing services for companies outside Jordan. So this is basically the model that we wanted to highlight today. And this is the model we just started implementing with the collaboration, of course, with Int J and with the universities, some universities in Jordan. With this approach in particular, we've already obtained funding from the French, the AFD and the GIZ, exactly to do these sorts of activities. Part of it starts and is initiated by Int J, measuring the market needs outside Jordan and then connecting them with the companies. This is why we call it the B2B model. So it's the businesses outside Jordan with the businesses inside Jordan. This will create jobs in Jordan for youth who might be providing these jobs either as part-timers, as freelancers, depending on the project they are going to be fulfilling. We have great success stories from previous projects in the ICT sector, boys and girls and women and men, of course, as you will see, who are working in the ICT sector in specific. These are examples of the nice faces of our youth who we are very, very proud of. And now I give it out to you, Nidal, to lead us through how we're doing the model, and of course with some presentation or introduction about Int J itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ghadeer, and thank you very much everyone. And it's really an honor and pleasure being with you. And this is a great opportunity actually to share what we have been doing and also learn from you and from the audience about any feedback that they might have upon finishing this presentation. So before zooming in more details actually to what Ghadeer just mentioned, let me give you a brief about Int J, which is the ICT Association of Jordan. Int J was founded based on a vision of His Majesty King Abdullah II in 1999, where he had a vision to have Jordan as an ICT hub, since Jordan only counts on the human capital, and its human capital. So a royal initiative called REACH was issued in 1999 with many outcomes and action plans. One of these actions was to create Int J, actually a membership association that would represent the private ICT sector and contribute to its growth, as well as establishing Ministry of ICT, because there was no Ministry of ICT at that time. There was Ministry of Post and these things, you know, prior to transforming to a digital economy or to the journey of the digital economy. So Int J serves, as mentioned, as a membership-based association with companies in Jordan who work in IT or IT-enabled services, or around the IT in general. As mentioned, we provide them with tools required to grow and expand and to contribute to the national economy. So basically, Int J serves or achieves this vision or this mandate through 6 major pillars. Next drama, please. These 6 major pillars include business enabling environment, where we do a lot of lobbying and advocacy with policymakers. One of the success stories that we're so proud of, that in 2016 we managed to convince the government to reduce income tax on IT services from 20% to 5%, reduce export tax on IT-related services to be 0%, reduce sales tax from 16% to 0%. And of course, we do a lot of lobbying. Now, currently, we're discussing with members of parliament a new law which will be related to data privacy law. In Jordan, it's very crucial for the sector. So we do a lot of lobbying, and bottom line, and we do a lot of ad hoc lobbying on almost a weekly basis regarding any ad hoc things that happen between our members and the government. The second pillar, we call it digital economy. We promote digital transformation in other sectors. such as health sector, banking sector, tourism sector, agriculture sector. We do a lot of roundtables between our member companies and the member companies of other sectors, such as even chambers and others, to let them know how technology can be really an added value for them and enabler towards their growth and make them more competitive. And the third pillar, we call it human capital, which is also because technology relies heavily on human capital, and to do the matchmaking or the bridge the gap between academia and industry. So we do a lot of activities in this regard. And the fourth pillar is access to market. Of course, we do a lot of activities in this area, whereby we participate in international and regional fairs and exhibitions, such as in Saudi Arabia, in Dubai, in Barcelona, the Mobile World Congress, in Qatar, and others. In Oman, we're going next month to Oman with a Jordan pavilion of 8 companies. For example, we're going to Iraq, to Erbil, and then Baghdad, and then Saudi Arabia seamless. So we've been doing a lot of Jordanian pavilions in these countries. And fifth pillar, we call it access to information. As you know, most of the companies in the IT sector and in Jordan in general are SMEs. So they really have issue in accessing information about new markets or about enhancing their presence in other markets. So we created, in partnership with GIZ, a new function called Market Intelligence Function, which includes a portal that can be accessed by the members of Int J to learn more about the markets, the opportunities, the tenders, and it's updated on daily basis or even instantly at most of the time. And also we have a research unit whereby we can provide reports about countries, about recent technologies and opportunities there. And the sixth pillar, we call it startups and entrepreneurship. Int J acts as a facilitator with all the stakeholders in the ecosystem, including incubators, accelerators, VCs, service providers, to really ensure that we have a strong and vibrant ecosystem, which we do, but we still need to do a lot more. We are managing a national portal called startupjo.com, which includes all the startups, VCs, service providers, support organizations, incubators, accelerators, in one portal. And also we mapped all the startups in Jordan, who are almost around 450 startups based on 21 verticals. So we know who's in cybersecurity, who's in fintech, who's in health tech, etc. And of course, we recently launched a new tech female economic empowerment unit called SheTechs unit. This is in partnership with GIZ, whereby we really need to show that IT companies that there's a huge value of empowering tech female by hiring more, by enabling them in a more professional way and taking into consideration their value. And of course, we hold every year the MENA ICT Forum, which is the Middle East and North Africa ICT Forum, every 2 years since 2002, and it's always under the patronage of His Majesty. This forum is a huge event that includes all the buyers, sellers, investors, entrepreneurs under one roof, so they can really share experience and conduct deals, etc. If you can go to the next slide, please. This will give you a very high level of the ICT sector in Jordan. We have around 2,000 companies who work in ICT in Jordan, who hire around 26,000 people. I think this number is very low and it can be increased. Take into consideration also that the female participation is 33%, which is considered to be relatively high. As Ghadeer mentioned, in Jordan, unfortunately, it's only 14% in general, but the ICT sector employs around 33%. We think it can be even 50% or more if we work together and achieve what we are doing now. The revenue of the sector is around $3 billion with around 440 startups, and we have very good internet penetration with good infrastructure actually in Jordan. We graduate around 7,000 students from ICT-related colleges from around 27 universities and 51 community colleges. The next slide, please, Rama. This is very quick, just to let you know that we have good incentives for the sector companies in terms of taxes and customs. So I already talked about this earlier when we talked about the advocacy. Next drama, please. And this gives you also what's happening in Jordan in regard to the ICT graduates. Unfortunately, 60% of the graduates are unemployed, though we have a huge demand internationally regarding skilled ICT professionals. So we graduate around 5,000 to 7,000 people. Actually, it's around 7,000 people now, but the hiring is less than 40%. Can we go to the next slide, please, Rama? Okay, the advanced digital skills required globally and regionally. Now we cannot, and locally, we cannot say that it's local. This is what's locally needed and what's regionally. Everyone needs these skills. I'm not going to read all of them, but you can tell from what they are that these are the technologies that everyone needs now in order to find a job. But also it's not about holding a certification, it's being competent in these skills. Can we move to the second slide, please? Okay, this gives you an idea of what's happening globally. These are recent numbers. And the world loses around $390 billion US dollars because of the lack of IT specialists. So this shows how important it is to be equipped with high skills in what I just mentioned earlier. And 52% of IT leaders see that the qualification gap is a main problem, and 82% of organizations believe it's hard to attract and retain talents. Next slide, please. Okay, this gives you example of the shortage in some countries in Europe in specific. So as you can see, in Spain, there's a shortage of around 50,000 programmers and developers. In Finland, around 15,000. In France, around 200,000. In Germany, around 124,000. In UK, so 40,000. So all these countries, they always look for highly skilled and competent people in IT, as well as in Ireland, 12,000, in Netherlands, 37,000, in Australia, 60,000, in US alone, it's about 1 million, also in Canada, 200,000. So there is around 2 million to 3 million shortage of IT skilled people. And what we have been doing at Int J, we identified that the IT outsourcing is a great opportunity for two things, actually. The first one, that this will contribute to the growth of the companies through exporting their services. And the second one is to create jobs. So as you see, the IT outsourcing is increasing, and it's about $500 billion US market. So this will be a good opportunity. If we can move to the second slide and we can elaborate more. Identifying that no jobs could be created without empowering and enabling SMEs. As I mentioned earlier, SMEs, they constitute around 99% in Jordan. So we need to enhance their internal processes. We need to support them in business development and accessing new markets. We need to assist them in recruiting and hiring highly skilled IT professionals, or make these well-trained, competent professionals available for them. Because of the ITO is a huge opportunity, as I mentioned, and rapidly evolving. And we think that's the only way that it can really create jobs and also contribute to the growth of the companies, and which will also contribute to the GDP of the national economy. Next slide, please. Int J has many initiatives and many programs in different areas, as mentioned as SheTech's unit, as we have an initiative called Tech Aid for Startups. We have an initiative called Startup Joe. We have an initiative called in different domains. But one of these initiatives, it's called Source Tech, and we're heavily focusing on that. And Source Tech, actually, it's based on 3 winners. The first winner is highly skilled Jordanian talents and youth, mainly youth and female, of course, and the Jordanian IT companies, whereby we need really to help them, especially those who work in IT or BPO, or is also support other companies to convert and to add new line of IT or BPO services. And the third winner are the regional and international companies in Europe, in the US, in the region, who are looking for resources. Because we have two options. One of the options is really to train and equip talents or youth with skills and competencies related to digital skills, and leave them find the jobs by themselves, or have them leave Jordan and be attracted by other international companies and immigrate, etc. So this is one option which we don't prefer. The second option is really to create opportunities for the companies in Jordan and helping them grow and bring more projects for them and improve their capacity, whereby getting more projects, getting more opportunities, they will automatically hire these talents and automatically, of course, matching them with these international and regional companies. Next slide, please. Of course, this SourceTech also, now we are so proud to be partnering with the EFE and supported by GIZ to conduct a pilot, whereby it's based on the Business Development and Readiness Unit at Int J, which its mandate is to define Jordanian IT companies' competitive advantage and value proposition. So we already started and finished actually throughout the project that Ghadeer just mentioned, which is Unimatch, mapped around 50 companies. We defined their competitive advantages and we identified their outsourcing readiness through an assessment tool that has been also prepared by a professional consultant. And now we are in the process of identifying opportunities through different means and channels. We're already contacting, for example, embassies in Jordan. We're also contacting embassies in abroad, such as in Jordan, like the Sweden embassy. We're already in touch with them. In UK, we're already contacting the Jordanian embassy. Also, our expats abroad, also they are supporting this initiative. Already we have, Ghadeer knows, we have a good community of Jordanian professionals in Ireland that we are already in touch with them, and they are helping out. And of course, we do a lot of market research and identify associations like Int J in other countries, whereby they have the network of companies who need resources. So once we define these potentials, we work on defining or developing the value proposition of the companies and their narrative, and identify what areas they are excelling at, and they can provide the best of their services, and do matchmaking between them and these international companies in Europe and in the region, especially GCC countries, including Iraq and Saudi Arabia. Of course, we depend heavily on the market intelligence function at Int J, which I just talked about, because it really gives a lot of insights about opportunities and about the markets in very deep details. Second, please. Now we see the value of EFE big time, because we cannot do this part at Int J. Only one who can really deliver it in a very professional way is EFE, whereby they are selecting potential and eligible youth through different criteria, assessing them, building the capacity based on the needs that we identified through the business development and readiness unit activities, and of course, match these graduates in these IT companies. Next, please. And I think we are done. Yes. We are done. This gives you an idea of what we have been doing, and we really believe that this model can scale to tens of thousands of people if we really work very closely and with the proper collaboration model that I just mentioned. Thank you very much, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you so much, Nidal. This is insightful. I hope, because I see some people joining from different countries, from Kuwait, from Egypt, and from others. So I think that this model tends to solve the part of the problem of the unemployment in our countries, because simply we can't encourage all of the unemployed youth in Jordan, for example, to travel elsewhere to get the jobs. We need to find another solution where they can be placed, if you want to use the word placed, or connected with job opportunities that are flexible depending on the demand. And these days, we don't speak only about the demand of each country. We're speaking about the demand globally, and this is the method that we're trying to work upon. So we find the demand globally in the market, and then make this B2B connection, and then EFE comes in to provide these opportunities, the youth with these opportunities, bridging the gap with the skills needed. Exactly. So now I'm going to introduce again Dr. Ebrahim Mansour, the Associate Professor of Accounting and the Director of the Hashemite University Career Center. Also, we have signed MOUs with several universities in Jordan who are strong in this market and who have a track record of building the capacities of their youth in their universities, who also are integrated into these solutions. So, Dr. Ebrahim, we're waiting to hear from you.
Thank you very much, Ghadeer. And I would like actually to thank you and the EFE for giving me this opportunity to have a presentation with your esteemed institution and organization. The concept actually that we are sharing here, that we have some sort of problems that facing us here in Jordan or on the regional or even at the global level, which is actually the problem of the refugees, that are actually exiled from their homes, countries due to conflict or environmental change or any persecutions, and they have actually to move without their intention to do that, but they are forced to do so. The concept actually been raised by the United Nations High Commissioner by different reports, which actually raised the problem of refugees and the responsibility of the different countries, whether at the regional level or at the global level. The concept actually, we need to handle this type of problems, which is the refugees problems that, they're moving to other countries, whether the countries to stay as an origin or the countries as transit. The concept is that actually, next slide, please. Maybe we are in the Middle East have more concern about this because maybe mainly we are the countries that are hosting the major bulk of the refugees. As a responsibility from these hosting countries, we need to provide a range of services, and maybe through the governmental agencies or sometimes non-governmental agencies, or sometimes through for-profit or non-profit organizations, sometimes by religious bodies. The concept, whether as an academic institutions, we have a responsibility regarding these issues. I could say that actually the different forum start to insist the responsibility of the academic institutions and the academic faculties regarding this problem. The first responsibility, I think, is starting with the awareness of the academic institutions and the awareness of the academic faculties of their responsibility. So, next slide, please. The academic, actually, including professors, think tanks, and research centers and universities, actually, we first need to better understand this crisis by generating knowledge, which can be derive evidence-based solutions, inform programming, and influence policies related to displacement, refugees' needs, and host communities. So at the first level, actually, we need some sort of awareness of our responsibility, whether at the professor level of or the academic institution level or the research centers level, and we have to identify, okay, this rule by, for example, creating new ideas, creating a new, let's say, research that will identify this type of problems or how we can handle it from the academic level or from the government level or from the other organizational, whether non-for-profit NGOs level. Okay, we can actually also provide opportunities for analysis and critical thinking, by bridging the gap between academic policy and humanitarian development realms. Okay, this was actually insisted by the Declaration of Refugees and Migrants, and looking towards the comprehensive refugees response, which is the voice of academia, is seen very more critical. So we are not actually, it's our responsibility somehow, okay, as an academic institution, as a faculty members, to be a part of the stakeholders that will actually influence and engage with this type of problems. Is the refugees, especially in Jordan, that Jordan is hosting around 1 million Syrian refugees and about 400,000 Iraqis and some other refugees from other countries. Okay, so we are now is a part of this, a part of the stakeholders that have to involve with this problem, which is the refugees, a problem that's actually, let's say, affecting the all the countries that are actually hosting these refugees. But at what levels actually, as an academia and as an academic faculties or an academic institutions, we can share? Next, please, next slide. We can actually working on a different levels. First of all, we can working at upskilling, okay, the candidates, whether they are actually our students at the university or even the youth by distance learning. Upskilling, it means actually we have to identify what types actually of skills that the job market are in need, and especially the new trends, as Mr. Nidal mentioned, especially in the financial technology, for example, or cybersecurity, or machine learning, or etc. The concept, actually, we need to identify different type of skills that are needed in the job market, and we need to work in that through actually our programs and our partnership with different, let's say, different institutions or different governmental bodies or different professional bodies that we could actually have like an professional skills that are actually needed by the market, by the job market. The other concept is to make an alignment and curriculum development by linking between education opportunities and the future opportunities in the job market, or in the needed opportunities in the job market. This is actually at the what we call it in the upskilling level, that actually we need to provide the professional skill for our youth, whether at the university level or at the refugees camps level, and we can actually provide this by different channels and different tools and mechanisms. We might mention some of our experience here in the Career Center at the Hashemite University. After I mentioned the other solutions for the refugee youth and for our youth, actually the second approach that we could enhance our refugees or our youth is through here providing scholarships for the refugees, okay, and through what we call it career path, okay, that we identify the career path with our academic career path for the youth or the refugees, okay. The career path, it means that actually what types of opportunities that, what type of the studies that you are studying at the university are giving you in the what opportunities are waiting for you in the capital market, Okay, especially the one that is related to the emerging technologies that we are talking about now, like the financial technology, like as we mentioned, the machine learning or the cybersecurity or the blockchain, and etc. We could go for a consortium for universities to offer hybrid degrees for example, the refugees, like a blended model that we will, but that need an accreditation, okay? And we could waiving fees for refugees. Sometimes we need actually to go to the accreditation. Next slide, please. Next slide, Rama. One of the concern about giving our academic programs and professional programs through the online learning and distance learning is the validation and accreditation of the refugee studies. Maybe we actually need to develop a system to recognize the refugees' previous certification, for example, and diploma, as well as the learning and competences they have acquired non-formally or informally. This is actually under the, should be taken into consideration, should be a concern, how to validate these types of studies or certificates by the refugees. The other concern is the environment that's conducive for refugees. We need to have a responsibility as an academic faculties or as an academic institution. We must be able to shed a positive light on the refugees and help the youth foster a positive perception of refugees, at least to make a convenient environment for them within the academic, for example, within the academic campuses or the university campuses, or within the virtual environment, actually, through the distance learning or the online learning. We need to engage the refugees as well, okay, like, for example, let them participate in development of the curricula or the advocacy efforts that actually we need to make regarding to engagement of refugees. We need to understand their situation and their needs, and we need them to like providing them with additional accompanying services that actually will be they will be able actually through these additional services to have more engagement and to feel more conducive environment and to be able to apply online learning. This is, we could say that this is in general an approaches or an education solution. Let me talk about our experience here in the Career Center at the Hashemite University. We were actually trying to identify the career path for our youth or for even the refugees that are studying here, okay, in the university, which is, we call it, first of all, they need to be qualified through their academic programs. So they need to focus on their getting their what we call it certificates, academic certificates. And we were saying actually if we have to go for this type of, for example, to give this type of certificates through online, we actually now facing the problem of the accreditation. So we insist actually it should be actually a Canvas accredited environment. So this is another problem might we face regarding an online model or a distance learning regarding our youth or refugees. Especially, you know, the accreditation is local one, and it's sometimes a global one. So we are not actually free for going for another learning platform, okay, except the face-to-face environment. But actually, this actually a platform need to be studied and need to be somehow accredited from the different references, whether academic one or professional one. The other idea is actually if you are not able actually to attend our academic programs, you might go to professional programs. So our students need to be not just qualified, they need to be certified as well. So at the certification, the professional certificate levels, I think our youth or our refugees, might engage in different types of professional certificate programs that will give them actually a big opportunity in their career path within the capital market. The other concept, actually, we need to enhance their English proficiency, as well as actually is a must now in most of our work environments, especially with if you are looking for actually some type of distinguished job or distinguished vacancies opportunity. So you need actually to enhance your English proficiency. We are working on that with the actually, in collaboration with the U.S. Embassy, and the Middle East, by providing classes for our students and for the refugees that are studying, here in the university. The other thing is actually we need to enhance their computer literacy, and Mr. Nidal actually already mentioned actually the new trends in the market, which is actually built on the new emerging technologies. So we are trying to make like an MOUs with different actually provider of the IT, for example, training courses. They are actually provide our students and provide our youth here like a social responsibility of their companies. The other thing actually, which is our students, whether they are local or whether they are refugees, actually they need to enhance their what we call it communication and soft skills. And thanks for the EFE that they are engaged with us in a long program regarding communication and soft skills. So far, actually, we have trained more than 500 students at the Hashemite University through the American corner and through the HU Career Center. So we are working actually on this model. After that, actually, we are trying to get like an internship opportunity for our students, through the MOUs with different like JODB, like the MEDs, like the American Stock Exchange, like the Jordanian Central Bank, like other actually private sector companies. And after that, actually, we also call for the last, let's say, the last approach that we are trying to find the solutions for whether our students or even the refugees through the recruitment opportunities with different let's say companies in the private sector. So far, we through our MOUs, sometimes we give the priority for our students and for our graduates to get the opportunity to have, for example, job vacancies with different banks and different companies. This is what I have actually for this presentation. It was brief. I hope it I gave good let's say ideas and good approaches how we could actually, as an academic, whether academic institution, we could help and provide solutions for our youth, whether they are refugees or whether they are students and local ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ebrahim. Before I turn to the questions, and I do appreciate that some of the attendees are already posting their questions in the chat box, which is great. I would encourage the rest of you to do the same. While we go back to one of the slides that we'd like to maybe wrap up with and ask Nidal maybe to highlight again the model that we are presenting today. And after this slide, I'm going to move to the chat box with the questions.
Thank you, Ghadeer, and also thank you, Dr. Mansour, for all your insights, valuable insights.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Ghadeer. Actually, this model actually maybe makes everything I mentioned very clear, yet the devil in the details, as they say. So it includes every detail. Every box here includes so much details and so much hard work. And on this occasion, I would want to thank Int J team, actually, who have been working on our part, as well as EFE team also have been engaged heavily in each of these activities within this project. So as I mentioned earlier, the assessment of 50 plus IT companies have been based on ITO readiness assessment tool, which has been developed by a great consultant, actually, and it was validated by best ITO BPO providers, service providers in Jordan and in the region. And it took around maybe hour and a half to be filled. So it really was very difficult to get the buy-in from the companies to fill this assessment tool, because it included so many details and required them to fill so many things. And we selected, based on the score of this tool, we selected the top 10 companies who scored highly, because as mentioned, it's a pilot and it's the fund cannot allow for more than 10 companies. So we selected the greatest companies who already ready, or they might need some help in improving their internal processes or other stuff. We got their detailed information. We built the marketing narrative for them and the detailed profiles. For example, each company provides each service in details. So when we go to identify the potential clients, we tell them what we have. It's not what you have. Because this is important. So, for example, we don't go to a potential client, tell them, what do you need? We tell them, this is what we have. If you are okay with that, if you feel a need of such skill sets, we'll be happy to talk. So we not to waste your time and not to waste our time as well. Then we facilitate the matchmaking between these companies and the clients, as I mentioned, in Europe or in the region, including Saudi Arabia and Iraq. And here comes the role of EFE, which is as important, if not more, by sourcing these skilled people and youth and assess them and make them ready and reskill them based on the needs that we identified because some projects might need 5 skilled people in certain areas. Some projects might need maybe 20 or more. So EFEs are taking great care of this. And of course, the KPI for us is 250 well-trained people who will be placed in these companies that have been selected. So this is what I wanted to share with you also, to make it clear, as I'm a visual person, so I always like slides with infographs and boxes. So thank you, Ghadeer, for this opportunity again, and everyone as well.
Thank you so much to Nidal and Dr. Ebrahim for this presentation. I already see 3 questions in the chat box, and I encourage the rest of you to ask more questions or maybe to share ideas with us. But the first question is by Nerman, who asks Dr. Ebrahim whether the curriculum at the university is designed in a way that helps bridge the gap between the labor market and youth. Is it a work-integrated learning, for example, that you are adapting in the university? How can you tell us more about this? You're muted, Dr. Ebrahim.
Thank you for the question. Yes, actually, this concern is our concern as well. The alignment between the curriculums and the needs of the job market is our concern at different levels, even at the governmental level and at the academic institutional level, and at the faculty and departments level. We started to work on this as a project, to restructure our curriculums, regarding 60-40%. The concept is to go for the conceptual framework for different modules, and to make the application or the practical side of that conceptual level, that will fit with the job market. How we are going to do that? Actually, we are participating now with the professional bodies. For example, as for my subject, which is the accounting, for example, we actually already started with Sergeant. We already started with BWC. We already started with KPMG, okay, to make like a shared project. They will be our partner to participate and restructure our curriculums to actually to be aligned between the concept regarding different modules and the needed skills and the needed what we call it certification within for example this type of study. Okay, we can say the same actually for the engineering. We can say the same for the IT. So at the conceptual level is not enough anymore. And the universities start to think seriously, okay, to a link between the curriculums at the conceptual and scientific level and at the practical and professional level. So we are actually started. And if you remember, Dr. Ghadeer, that we already suggested, a curriculum regarding how to prepare students for the job market. And we are in the process, and I think we are on the final stage to accredit this module. And actually, so we'll be able also to give an orientation for our student, okay, and how they could prepare themselves for the job market, how the academic institution is a part and a participant in this, issue and this concern. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. There is another question also by Nermin regarding the refugees in Jordan and the challenges they might face in registering. He's asking about registering as a freelancer. There is no such registration for freelancers. Freelancers online, specifically online freelancers, can be online freelancers without necessarily having to register anywhere. So basically, you create an account and you become an online freelancer. So refugees and Jordanians can do that. Some of the refugees, or most of the refugees, perhaps cannot access bank accounts, but lots of international online freelancing platforms allow for wallets. So they open wallets and they are usually able to collect their money from the wallets. You're also asking about the closed professions, especially for the blue-collar jobs that the government has issued. You're asking about how come and how this is happening. I'm not justifying, I'm explaining. The unemployment rate in Jordan among youth is about 50%. And they are trying to manage, the government is trying to manage between providing jobs for Jordanians as a priority in Jordan. Our job in the NGO sector and in the development field is to find solutions for everyone and to be inclusive of everyone. And this is why all of these tracks that we have been focusing on serve both the Jordanians and Syrians equally, so that we provide them with livelihood opportunities. There is a question by Simon on the gender. Now, if we're speaking about the tracks under EFE, as I mentioned, almost 70% of our trainees and beneficiaries are females. In the freelance and the online freelance sector, we might find something similar to that, I suspect. And I'd like to hear from Nidal if you'd like to comment on that. But I think the statistics show that there is a very high percentage, almost 80% of unemployed women in Jordan have high education in universities. So we have those. The problem is employing them in the formal sector with the full-time jobs. But I think if the opportunity allows them to either work remotely or as freelancers, I'm hopeful at least, and we were just launching these programs, but I'm hopeful that the percentages may be higher. Nidal, maybe you'd like to comment on that?
Yes, thank you, Ghadeer. And actually, more than 50% of graduates from ICT-related colleges are female. As I mentioned, the percentage of women in the ICT sector is 33%. However, we have to be also honest that these 33% are not only engineers or software developers. You'll find a lot of admin, HR, marketing, whatever, including. So I expect the employed from the female within the sector is maybe less than 20%, if not less even, as engineers, etc. So we're losing a lot of potential of female participating in this sector. And this is due to many reasons that everyone knows, whether transportation system, whether commuting. Most businesses are in Amman itself, and maybe in even one part of Amman as well, western part of Amman. So it's hard for ladies to commute from other governorates or from other far away from Amman due to the inconvenient transportation system. However, thanks to COVID, which expedites the remote work, and we see now some companies who are really shrinking even their office space and hiring people remotely, whether male or female. So there is a huge opportunity, and this also, I think, will be improved when we work or operate the SheTex unit, which I just mentioned. We need to take into consideration something very important, Ghadeer and everyone, that tech companies in general, they really don't care about the nationality, about the gender, about the anything. They really care about competent people. So that's why it's important what you are doing at EFE, really to improve the competencies of these talents. And especially female. I'm sure that when female have really more competency, you will see more hiring of tech female. And the freelance, I really don't know if that was your question, but I already see some tech female working from governorates in the sector. So I hope I answered the question.
Yes, thank you, Nidal. And moving on with some more questions. Mikal, I don't understand the question very well. Maybe if you rewrite it in a way that I get it. Lorian, you're asking about the freelance platforms. There are plenty. These are international platforms, freelancer.com and others. So there is nothing. There are a few specifics for Jordan, but this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about international, regional types of platforms. Emnak, you're asking, how do international companies find youth in Jordan? The model we're presenting does not encourage international companies to seek Jordanian youth to work for them. The model we're developing over here is that businesses outside speak to businesses in Jordan, companies, ICT companies in Jordan. These companies will have access to Jordanian youth who received the proper training related to the job. And then the relationship becomes business to business relationship. And then the youth in Jordan will work with the Jordanian companies in Jordan to fulfill the requirements of the regional companies. That's how we're looking into it. Also, Emnak is asking a question to Dr. Ebrahim. How do you secure funds for curriculum change or linkages that are related to the universities themselves? How do you secure funding for that?
Well, the concept actually is not to have fund or not actually, because our concern is actually any change in the curriculum that will fit the accreditation standards, the accreditation criteria, and whether the accreditation is a local one or whether it's a global one like WACSB or the ABIT or etc. Okay, but one major concern is regarding the fund. We have different actually deanships that are concerned with actually raising funds from different bodies, through Erasmus, for example, or through Bador, or through USAID. But regarding the curriculums, actually, the only concern for us as actually is the accreditation, and we don't actually raise funds regarding the change of the curriculum. Okay.
Thank you, Doctor. There is a question by Sonia. You're asking about the challenges to assist the trained talent to get hired for remote jobs. So basically, there are different challenges for it. So, for example, we have worked on projects that prepare youth for the gig economy or the virtual jobs, and you train them on this, and then for any reason they get a full-time job opportunity. So you won't say, some people won't say no to that. So it depends. So this is their intention from the beginning might change in the end, whether they continue in the gig economy or perhaps go to something else. So it's a challenge if we're talking about a funding opportunity that we need to fulfill. I don't see it as a challenge because that's great too. Like, they are securing an income and they have an economic opportunity. But basically, what we are trying to do with this model is to create this demand or to find the demand from the regional companies towards the Jordanian companies, and the more opportunities we open for youth in Jordan, the less challenges we will face time by time. I mean, this is why the job of Int J is really very crucial right now, because they are assessing the markets outside Jordan and inside Jordan with the ICT companies in order to increase this space. We need to increase this space to eliminate the challenges youth might find in them matching their background, their talent, and then and be able to match with the demand in the market. Nidal, maybe you want to comment on that.
Yes, actually, I wanted to add something to what you mentioned earlier, Ghadeer, about that the sector is closed for Jordanians as employees, of course. However, something very important to recognize that some Jordanian IT companies, when they hire, as mentioned, they look for competent people, and I'm talking about highly competent people. So there are cases, and many cases actually, whereby Jordanian tech companies, they asked for approval from the government of Jordan for Syrians, for other nationalities, even Sudanese and others, and Agenciyat Muqayyade, or these restricted nationalities. And they got these approvals because they had an argument that we cannot find Jordanian who can perform this job. And the government, in most of these cases, they approved these permissions. So that's why we really need to focus on the quality of training, quality of education, and we need to also expect from these candidates, especially the refugees, that they need to put extra effort on upskilling themselves by themselves after they get into the programs that EFE is holding or any others because there are exceptions, and these exceptions happen when companies cannot find highly skilled people from Jordan. So they go and request permissions or approvals from the government of other nationalities. So this is just a note I wanted to highlight.
Yes, thank you so much. Muhammad Abdul Karim is asking about the refugees' access to universities. And so there is a difference. So refugees can access all faculties in all Jordanian universities in Jordan. The issue is with the employment. Some sectors are closed as closed professions against Syrian refugees in Jordan. So I don't know. I assume you're asking about the faculties, you said. So they can access different faculties in different universities. It's the problem is with some jobs. Lorian, you're asking, are the companies mostly from the region? Nidal, maybe you want to answer that. With the B2B model, she's asking, are the companies mostly from the region?
The companies there are two types of companies. The companies in Jordan, of course, who are the beneficiaries and whom we are supporting to grow and to export, etc., and to hire. But yes, there will be focus on regional companies, especially Saudi Arabia, whereby there's a huge boom there and there's a huge demand. Because we at Int J, we have been working very closely with our Saudi colleagues and friends there. So we know that there's a huge demand of resources, as well as Iraq, of course. So there is a focus, to be honest, on Saudi market and the Iraqi market in specific, in addition to maybe Oman as well.
And Nidal, you were telling me about your few trips you're scheduling soon to visit countries who might show interest, and you can give us examples to those.
Next May we'll be going to Oman. Oman will be promoting about 8 companies there under a Jordanian pavilion, and then we'll be going end of May to Sweden. We'll be holding B2B meetings between Int J and the ICT Association of Sweden, which is the Int J like in Sweden, because they have the network to show them these companies and to promote them. We'll be, as mentioned, we'll be having booklets especially designed for these companies with all the details, especially the 10 companies we mentioned. And then we'll be going to Dublin, whereby there will be Dublin Tech Summit, which is a very important event in Ireland and in Europe. And we also will be meeting with Irish tech companies who are interested in resources through our partnership with Tech Ireland, which is an Int J like in Ireland as well. And then we'll be going to London, whereby His Excellency Ambassador of Jordan there will be arranging some meetings between us and some tech companies in the UK for this purpose. So. And we'll be continuing doing the same in other countries through different means, whether online or field visits.
Thank you, Nidal. Also, it's a good opportunity to thank the AFD and the GIZ, because they believed in this concept, which we have launched for the first time in Jordan, and they are funding us to pilot this model in Jordan. So that's really great. Also thanking the ambassadors from the Irish Embassy, the Swedish Embassy, the French Embassy, who are also facilitating the linkages with their region or their countries outside. They have been really engaged, and they believe in the solution, and that's very much important. I have posted my email address in case anybody would like to send questions. Maybe I'd like to encourage Nidal and Dr. Ebrahim, if you like, to insert your email addresses in the chat box in case anyone have questions that they might want to check with you later, because I also noticed some people asking about perhaps thinking about replicating the model in their countries in the future. We're more than happy, all of us are so happy to be helping people here with your own setup in your own countries, perhaps to help you find solutions of this kind.
Done.
Yes,
Lorian, maybe I can't see more questions, so do you want to take it from here?
Hi. Thank you for that really interesting session. And I'm really happy to see this happening, because when I came to Jordan many years ago, you and I was doing research to see how the viability of this. So I'm really happy to see that hopefully my research inspired you guys to do this model. And, you know, and when I spoke to you, Nidal, a while ago, we were talking about this model. So this makes me so excited that it's actually happening. So Mabruk.
Thank you. And actually, I just want to highlight something important. Maybe I mentioned it, but did not emphasize on it, that this model is heavily sustainable, because we're talking about business development and readiness unit, that, okay, it needs an ignite, or it needs a support, which is the spark of this. GIZ have been giving a great spark to make it happen. But eventually, it's going to be very sustainable, because it's going to be taking percentage of the deals that will be doing when they do the matchmaking between the IT companies in Jordan and the clients abroad. So that's a very important factor. The sustainability is a major one.
Yeah, that's really good. Does EFE plan to replicate this model from other locations?
We're discussing this internally to see, depending on, and also remembering that we're piloting this model here in Jordan right now. We have the fund, we have started the activities, as Nidal mentioned. So we're perhaps waiting to achieve some solid results over here, but definitely a very interesting model for the rest of the network of EFE.
Great. Does anyone have any other questions in the audience?
I was very happy with the engagement of people joining this session. Lovely questions, lovely interactions over here. So I'd like to thank everybody for their questions as well.
Maybe I have one more question, for all of you. The training, does EFE do the technical training, or is it done in collaboration with university partners like the Jordan University?
It's going to be probably in collaboration with the private sector themselves. We want to provide training that is relevant to the market. So we will provide them with some training that is tailored and designed by EFE, but also necessarily some on-the-job training that is needed by the private sector who are going to hire them in the end. So that's important to have this linkage and the training space for companies themselves.
And this is very ideal, actually, because the companies who will be executing the projects and employing or hiring these people, they know exactly what to train them on. And most of them will be giving them the exact skills rather than any other partner. So it's a blended model or hybrid model between EFE and the private sector, and which is ideally the perfect, which ideally leads to a perfect impact.
Now, I want to add something. The academia's role is important because I must say different universities graduate different level students, especially in the ICT sector. So, for example, the Hashemite University, where Dr. Ebrahim works, for example, is considered one of the very good universities that graduate ICT students. So then it becomes important to partner with such universities so that we get access to the youth graduating from these universities, because probably they will have a better chance joining the model than others, because they are more ready to the market. So this is bringing in the academia and the universities to the collaboration loop.
This is true, Dr. Ghadeer, actually, especially when actually aligned between the modules, curriculums, and the job market needs, especially the skills and the certificates. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, if I may add here, to be honest, we have to be frank as well. Unfortunately, except few universities, they have been really providing a good pipeline for the companies. Even if the university is giving the best education, still the private sector has to do its homework, and they have to get these students to an on-job training, like 2 months, 3 months, etc., to make them really head. What's happening, unfortunately, is a few universities, including, of course, Hashemite University and some others, they are really doing that thing and giving good pipeline for the companies. However, many others, unfortunately, the graduates, even sometimes they are, I don't want to say untrainable, but it's hard really to select them for even the boot camps. So there has to be rehabilitation even before getting them into a boot camp, or due to the lack of English language, which needs a lot of work, because IT sector needs English language, which is a satisfactory level. We're not talking about Shakespeare level, but at the same time, attitude, which also EFE is doing great job in this area, attitude and soft skills, and willingness to learn, and willingness to for self-actualization. That's very important. So because I've been always talking to many youth that it's all about them, it's not about what we do for them. they have really to dig into the new skills and teach themselves, because the resources are available online. Everything they can learn through free courses that are available wherever they go throughout the internet. So it's important really to make them passionate about developing themselves and take it from there. And this is due to the for me, at least, the unsatisfactory level of education system in Jordan, starting from KG1. So we have to confess this unfortunate fact.
Absolutely. Totally agree.
I want to ask about, Nidal, you mentioned the soft skills. What sort of support for these professional skills is EFE?
I think they are the standards. I'm sure EFE know this much better than me. But we're looking for good attitude, good communication skills, good time management. As mentioned, self-actualization and passion is the most important thing. Ghadeer maybe can elaborate more on this.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of these skills, including we're training them on things like ethics at the workplace, communication at the workplace, not only communications, things related to preparing them for the workplace. And now we're also including how to not only to find a job, but how to retain your job. Because another problem that we keep seeing, especially with this new generation, actually, is that they get bored really quickly and they want to move from one place to the other really, really quickly. So we try to advise them of how you transition from one place to the other. What's the best approach? How do you do that? When are you more ready? And when does it benefit your CV versus when does it hurt your CV to keep moving from one place to the other? So we try to give them these insights at an early stage so that not only they find a job, but what do they do when they find a job? Then how do they handle it? How do they work around it? So these are examples of the skills we provide them with.
So thank you, everyone, for attending today. It was really great to see the engagement. Thank you, Dr. Ebrahim. Thank you, Nidal and Ghadeer. Special thanks to you. I will see you soon, inshallah.
Sure. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.